Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of UGASports Live with Jim Donnan. I'm your host, Radi Nabulsi. We have Jim Donnan here, of course, the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach. And, of course, we have Dayne Young, who we can't quite shake. He's kind of like a puppy that just follows you around from show to show. We just can't quite get rid of him.
I told
But
my
without
wife
him,
you're my mistress. So,
Yeah.
I talk to you as much as I talk to her this time of year.
well, that's good, And that's
Talking about can't shake anybody. Is there any time of day you're not on the YouTube, Roddy? I mean,
hey, it's not by choice. It's not by choice.
YouTube, man. I mean, every time I flip it over there, I'm a subscriber, and like I hope everybody is. And Radi Nabulsi, YouTube.
Well, we do have a pretty big YouTube channel now, so it's been a great. We just came off of Thanksgiving week, and I'm very thankful for all the people that have become subscribers to our show. It means a lot to us.
I think
speaking of,
you should get a travel show, a food show, a medicine show. I mean, you got everything else.
we could do some numbers with travel. Yeah,
I'm already pitching for us three to go to Austin, Texas next year and do a show out there.
You better get you to some kind of way beside flying and staying out there. I heard that they got some kind of special event out there the same week, and it's going to be astronomical prices for everything.
Yeah, when Georgia plays Texas, and it's the same time as the F1 race, which they have about, I'm told, 430,000 people descend on that town for that. So, when UGASports goes to cover Georgia at Texas, they'll be sleeping in a van. So. This is going to be sketchy. The full schedule should be coming out. A lot of people are really mad about some of the leaks from ESPN, but the full schedule should be coming out here. I was told like December 4th or December 5th, and we'll know when Georgia's playing what game. So y'all stay tuned for that.
So you're going to have Jed May in a hotel in Little Rock, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Coach, a lot going on this week. We just came off Thanksgiving week. Georgia went and faced Georgia Tech. Stat 3 starters, one major contributor, a lot of guys banged up. Not exactly the output Georgia wanted, but to me, if you came out of that game healthy and with a win, that's the most you could hope for. A lot of people trying to read too much into it. Real quickly, I know we don't want to go back over the Georgia Tech.
Name one person's reading something into it. If they are, they need to go sell used cars. I mean, seriously, you play Munden can't play, Bowers, all these guys, and we got the game in hand in the fourth quarter, and they end up catching that interception and all. But I think I'm not going to dwell on that.
I just want to go. Are there any carryover concerns from that game to this one? I guess because they had a running quarterback and Milroe can run, so that's a lot of people are kind of drawing that conclusion.
We're going to break that down today about Milroe. It's just all a different situation than what he does compared to Haynes King and Dart. They run a lot of read plays. He doesn't read. He runs predetermined runs and he scrambles, but so he gives a different deal. But he's a lot better athlete than either one of them. Probably one of the top 3 or 4 athletes in the SEC. So he gives you a lot of issues. But I was happy with the win. I was happy for our players, and it was good that we could sit Ratledge and Bowers and McConkey and Rah. Those are 4 guys that really help our team. I think all of those will be at least have a chance this week. And then Munden is the big issue. I think the game to me is injured players. Can McClellan play for Alabama? Can Bowers play for us? I mean, big parts of both teams, and we'll break that down a little bit. I didn't want to start off on a negative, but I don't know why anybody be worried about beating Tech. I mean, I'd like to have had a couple games like that where we won by 8 points.
No, it's not so much people were worried about. It's just the nervousness that comes with seeing a guy who, a running quarterback. And again, at the 30,000-foot level, people like me that don't understand football, it's like, well, hey, there's a running quarterback. There's another running quarterback, and you start to panic about it. So that's kind of why I was asking.
You should be concerned because this guy, and you listen to Kirby talk about him. I mean, he's really
about him. He's
a problem. And we're going to have to. That's going to be a part of winning the game is control him and not give him anything easy. But I don't think there's any really correlation between the styles of what he does. He's a lot more like the guy from Missouri, maybe just from the standpoint of not the scrambles or what hurt Chin. We got hurt by him the first half for sure, but he's a lot faster.
Yeah, Milroe's big, fast. If you watch the Kirby Smart press conference from Monday, he was very effusive in his praise of Milroe. And of course, he doesn't want to give the opposing team anything, but it was legitimate. It was a legitimate, concern. This guy is pretty good.
It should be. On our show around the league all year, all three of us have talked about when is Tommy Rees going to figure out what to do with this guy? Because, they waited for a long time to start letting him loose and run even some predetermined quarterback runs, and he's made the difference in their offense. Sustaining drives, throwing the deep ball. He's a legitimate threat in this game, and I think which quarterback takes care of the ball, which quarterback makes those third down plays, which throughout the year Beck has done that. And if you look at our success or lack of success against Alabama, the intercepted pass over the 3 games we played has been a huge problem. We've thrown 5 picks in the 3 games that we've played against Alabama, and particularly the second quarter of the SEC championship game 2 years ago, where we just went AWOL and they jumped on us. And that was our one bad quarter of the year. And before you knew it, the game was out of hand.
I was looking at the numbers between Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe, and I thought this was interesting. Carson Beck, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Jalen Milroe, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Pound for pound, almost the exact same production. Milroe's thrown it 130 times less. And Carson has a much higher completion percentage. So I could see definitely this being a game, and we could talk about all the other guys out there, but I'm with you. Whichever one turns it over, that's going to be the team that gets stung. But also, it's just this could be an elite quarterback battle. I'm really excited to watch this.
Yeah, you make a good point. Some of the things that have hurt Bama this year are sacks. Given they're really good run blocking, they've improved their pass protection. And because he's so good at running, he has a tendency to hold the ball longer than most quarterbacks. If you look at his time of release compared to Beck's, who catch and throw a lot, it's a real differential there. And I think it's because he's not exactly doing a lot of reads and everything. And they've run a lot more dropbacks than you think. They're really a play action team overall, but they've had more dropbacks than I would have thought. And the other thing is they've been a heavily penalized team the first one half of the season, but they've cut those dramatically since then. And I don't know who the umpire and the head linesman and the field judge are going to be in this game, but holding penalties are going to be paramount. We seldom get any called against the other team on us, although they hold us into submission. And we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, we always talk about the 2 teams that really play the ball and the player more than anybody and have collisions. Or that's just the way Nick taught Kirby, and that's the way Kirby teaches his guys. So what kind of PIs are we going to get in this game, or defensive holding too? So it's going to be a situation where you saw the way the referees had a lot to do with that game last week, just incompetence. There was an in-service training program for how to not call a game. Just ridiculous. I thought the guy made a good call on the sideline when the guy stepped out of bounds and everything, but the holding penalty on Truss was ridiculous, and then marginal on the guy downfield on it's just these guys right here, ACC. That's why they're the ACC.
Yeah. I also thought Dylan Bell had a catch. I didn't think that he had to pull the ball into your body. I thought that was pretty bad.
Yeah. But see, they don't have a place where they can go to Birmingham like that. I think they go to the varsity to pick out their calls when they make them up there. You know how you have that control center where you go everywhere. ACC goes to the varsity, and you get a choice whether you want chili on it or not.
That's fair, and the end results are the end results on both of them. You get a bunch of commode style calls. It's just bad. Hi, Coach.
I'll tell you one thing about the ACC. We had that one year where we really had a bad situation over here against Tech, where they missed that fumble against Little Joe, and they did all these things. And we scored a 2-point play, and they didn't give it to us and all that. So along with Coach Dooley, we made a request to the ACC that the next time we had an ACC group calling our games, which is always when the visiting team brings their officials. So when we play at Tech, even though that ours didn't do a very good job on Jasper Sank's fumble, the SEC people were there. But I'm not going to harp on it, except to make the point. We made a request 2 years in advance not to have that same crew because we really did feel like it was not a very, which is not a very out of the way thing to do in my regard. Just say, look, if you're going to send another crew over here, let's have somebody different. And I'd be damned if they didn't send the same crew 2 years later.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So it was just obstinate by them to say, hey, we're going to send who we want to.
I hope Kirby can avoid this crew that he had Saturday night. That's pretty rough. I like to – that's one of the things we don't talk about very much when we're looking at a matchup like this Georgia-Alabama game. It's a huge one. Georgia's not beaten Alabama in Atlanta, and I think that's kind of sticks in the craw a little bit. But it's, to your point, it's been penalties and turnovers. We've seen that a lot. What do you think of Alabama being a 6-point underdog in this game?
Well, it should be. I mean, we're ranked number 1 in the country. They're 8th on the on this last rankings by the committee last night. And any way you look at it, we're going to have more people there than they are, just because so many people get tickets for Alabama and Georgia. But there's the season ticket holders over there at Mercedes-Benz for pros and all. They got all these kind of perks that they get tickets, and most of them are Georgia fans, I would hope. So, we should be favored over them.
There are some sly dogs in Vegas, though, Roddy, because if you look at the 4 common opponents that Georgia and Alabama have had, so that's Ole Miss, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn, and you do Alabama's points 4 and then the amount of points they gave up, and Georgia's points 4 and the amount of points they gave up, you pair those together, you end up with an aggregate of 31-25, 6 points.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the thing. There's people in the comment section asking this question. I'll ask you, Coach, what does it mean for the victor in this game? Does Alabama get into the playoff if it wins? Does Georgia get in? I know Georgia gets in if they win, but if Georgia loses, do they still get in? I've seen a lot. The way the committee was talking last night, I thought Kirk Herbstreit went on ESPN and basically was like, look, Georgia's in. Again, Georgia has to win this game. You don't want to lose yet another game to Nick Saban in Atlanta. You are the favored team. You should win it. But what if? So that we're getting that question a lot. So I know you're going to get it in our comment section. So let's go ahead and address it now.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to some of my cohorts around the country that talk to these committee people and all that. And the issue is right now, to me, is how many undefeated teams are going to be left. You got to figure Michigan is going to win against Iowa. I mean, Iowa really has a hard time scoring. They got a good defense, but it would be a monumental upset. It'd be like Appalachian State beating Michigan that year. I mean, it'll stranger things have happened. So you got them in there. Let's just say that's not necessarily the seed, but that's one of the 4. The next one that's got to happen is Florida State playing Louisville. Louisville's coming off a tough loss, but if Florida State wins, they're an undefeated team in a Power 5 conference, and they've been in the top 4. You're not going to drop them out of there. I mean, you should, because of their lack of – I mean, everybody's going to be standing in line to play them in the semifinals, but just because they don't have their quarterback. You've seen some of these ACC teams, how they match up against – although some of them have gotten some wins, that's for sure, but and certainly Georgia Tech played us good. So let's just say those 2 teams are in. All right. And we're going to keep on here. The third game is Friday night with Washington and Oregon. If Washington wins, they're the 3rd team for sure. If Oregon wins, then you got to look at a lot of different things. They don't have a very good strength of schedule, but at the present time, they're ranked ahead of Texas. And, and they've got some really good mojo going with Nick. So you got to figure the winner of that game more than likely is going to be in. So now you get to a situation there, 3 teams. That's if all these teams win. Okay. Now you got a situation with Alabama lost to Texas. Texas probably going to beat Oklahoma State. They've got some good wins, particularly their win over Alabama head to head. So I think we'd have a hard time getting in that situation if Alabama beats us, just because Texas might be in before Alabama, even if Alabama wins the SEC. So those are all situations that really kind of make you think about it. But the other thing is we're ranked number 1, and to make a drop out of the top 4 with a close loss to Alabama would be hard for me to see. But, you know, the issue is comparing these one-loss teams. Really, Ohio State has better wins than some of these teams that are one-loss, and it's just hard for me to believe Oregon is ranked as high as they are over Alabama, Texas, and Ohio State, because their biggest win this year is only one top 25 team. And if you compare their loss, their games that Texas played, they beat Texas Tech by like 4 points, and Texas beat them by 50. Yeah. So I don't know how much you're going to use that. But so bottom line, final answer on the whatever that thing that Regis Philbin was on, we lose, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Alabama wins, it's going to be tough for them to get in.
I think what the committee told you is that Alabama pretty much can't get in. It would take a really wild situation for Alabama to make the playoff.
Right.
Even if they blew out Georgia, I think that's the case.
Yeah, because of the Texas situation, because of Oregon situation. So you got to feel like the real diamond in the rough for us is Florida State losing, because now you've only got 2 teams there. You got 2 positions open. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got to figure Washington or Oregon's going to be in there now.
I agree. I could see a situation where they're looking at a one-loss Texas, champs versus a one-loss Georgia champs who does not. One-loss Georgia team that doesn't have a championship. They lost it in the championship. They went 12-0 in the regular season, which should count for something. So I could see them kind of struggling between those two. Alabama being on the outside, Ohio State being on the outside.
Yeah, I think we've got a better shot than Alabama, even if they beat us, just because of where we are in the rankings and the fact that got some good wins. Alabama's strength of schedule is a lot better than ours. Our strength of schedule hurts us this year. Losing that Oklahoma game, we're lower than every one of the top 6 or 7 on the strength of schedule. So that hurts you a little bit. But
you have 3 wins over top 25 teams in there.
Right. But the overall strength of schedule, they use all those parameters there. Right. They use all that. But, you got a guy on there talking. His name is Boo. So what do you think? Is that because he scares people, or what's? He's a very competent guy. I know his dad really well. He was the ACC director of public relations when I was playing at NC State. I got a picture of him on the sideline walking out to me to get the interview after the Georgia game. He was setting me up with ABC, and he ended up being the AD at the Notre Dame, and just a tremendous guy, Gene Corrigan. And both of his sons have been very successful. He might have another one, but one of them does NBA for ESPN, and then Boo has been a successful AD.
He had some good answers last night. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it's tough because everybody wants to.
I wish you'd just say, let's get the 4 best teams. You know what the 4 best teams are to me? We're playing one of them Saturday.
Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State.
I think Texas is better than Ohio State. I think their defense, and talking to coaches, most coaches think that too. Ohio State's quarterback situation hasn't been great, but everybody's got an opinion. But it's for sure the 3 of us, and then one more. But Michigan, and the thing about Michigan compared to 2 years ago when we played them, they can line up and bully ball you. They can line up and mash you, and we just don't know what they're going to do about our signals. So,
well, speaking of signals, we got a lot of questions to answer after this quick break, but I want to go to signal our friends over at Athens Ford. They are incredibly helpful to us. They put on not only this show, but they help us put on the Georgia Watch Along show, which is the other day we had 52,000 people tune in to watch Georgia versus Tennessee. It was great. Now we had 10,000 people more tuning in to watch Georgia versus Georgia Tech in a game that didn't really matter as much. Of course, lose it's a big deal, but they support us, and we would like you to support them. Right now, they're having their Make the Holidays Bright sales event. A great deal on just about everything on their lot, be it the 2024 Ford Edges, the 2023 Ford F-150s. So they've got ones for the next year's model. They've got this year's model. They're moving a lot of them. Got like $10,000 off an Expedition, $4,000 off Explorer. I drive an Explorer. I can tell you it's a great vehicle. Check out the great financing deals they have at Athens Ford. You will not be disappointed. And if you are a former or current active military person, they're going to have a $500 discount for you. Same with recent graduates and current students. They have discounts for them. And the place is really very well decorated. You can go out there and get your Christmas card photo done. They have a giant Georgia Bulldogs tree out there. You got to check it out when you get a chance. Speaking of gifts and the Christmas being here, let's also talk about our friends at Dead Soxy. Dead Soxy has some fantastic gifts. Here's the thing. They make the best quality socks out there. You put them on, they don't slide down. They're incredibly comfortable, incredibly soft. They don't have that annoying seam in the middle. It goes across your toes and it bugs you when you put on your dress socks or put on your tennis shoes. But here's the thing. If you get them as a gift or you get them for somebody, they come in such a neat package. It's not like you're getting socks from Kmart, in the bag, and it's like, oh, great, you got somebody's socks, and you're trying to figure out how to add. They're going to send them to you in an envelope, this printed box. I mean, the presentation makes it look phenomenal. So if you want to get something good for the folks in your life, check out Dead Socks or use promo code UGASports. UGASports will get you 25% off from our friends at Dead Soxy. And whoever you get them for will love you for it because they'll be the most comfortable socks they've ever worn.
Yeah, I want to add one thing about my analysis there. The one caveat for us would be if Oregon would beat Washington and we lost to Alabama, we would have a better chance of getting in because where Oregon is right now.
That's good.
They're fifth, and so you would think that we could maybe make it over Alabama in that situation and Oregon, but we'll have to see. What happens there.
Historically, the committee does like when teams avenge the one loss that they had, so that would be in favor of Oregon to get in, regardless of what like Oregon or Washington, the winner get in. I tend to think that's the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I can also see that, Georgia saying, look, we've got wins over number 9, number 11, number 24. We've got, 3 quality top 25 wins. I know, and the strength of schedule is a big factor in that, but you're like, hey, and I also think the undefeated season should count for something. I mean, it's just.
Right. Well, that's true, but we wouldn't be.
Georgia's number 1 right now.
We wouldn't be undefeated then, though. But here's the thing about
regular season.
Here's the thing about Oregon is they just going to be on that national stage tomorrow night, Friday night. Nobody else is going to be playing, and you will see what goes on. But the thing that would help them is they're going to beat the number 3 team. I mean, that's almost as close as beating the number 1 team. So we'll have to. I'm talking about if Alabama would do it, but
yeah.
But anybody's watching our show, I feel good about Georgia. I mean, I feel James freaking Brown about Georgia in this game.
Now
that means I feel good.
Speaking of feeling good, I don't know that the Georgia players feel good after yesterday. I was told, Kendall Milton came out and said it was a physical practice yesterday.
Well, they call it Bloody Tuesday, and I'm sure they were. Let me just say something about, and one of the things I like about being able to add to this show or to distract sometime, which I do with some stupid jokes, but realistically, there's nothing like being a coach or player a guy that's a trainer, a manager, whatever your role is, playing for a championship. There's just a buzz around the whole place. There's a pickup in your giddy up, everything about it to know that you're playing for the championship of your league or the championship of your country, whatever it might be. It's just, you just got that little extra. And I know most of the people can really relate to that because they've been in some kind of competition, whether it's athletics or anything, but you just got that extra vibe. And you got a coach that's just a big game coach. I mean, you look at all the wins that he's had as an assistant coach, as a head coach, and he knows how to work both sides of the fence there. You know, I'm talking about the other team, his team, and he takes a lot of pride in getting his team ready. And maybe yesterday he felt like they needed to get after it a little more. I don't know, but there's just a little buzz in the air. And I know when we were playing all those games at Marshall and Oklahoma, our players get along good. I mean, they're good kids. They go out there and practice for a championship. You're gonna get some chippy, like Milton was saying. You're gonna get a little chippiness, a little push after the deal, and say, "Hey, man, you want to fight?" I mean, really, they're ready to rock. They're ready to go, and they know what's at stake. And all of a sudden, what you were talking about on August 1st is the real deal. Our goal is to win the SEC. Kirby talks about it, and the rest of it will take care of you. Here's Steve Spurrier winning the SEC is tougher than winning national championship sometimes. And so we got a buzz in the air over here, and we got a good team, and they got a good team. But I like our chances, particularly if we're as healthy as we need to be. For Atledge is playing, and Bowers, and McClellan's not playing for them. Hey, they deserve for McClellan to wait till spring practice. I think he should sit out.
Coach, I want to ask you about the juxtaposition of this, though, because the rest of college football.
Can you explain what that means?
Okay. Georgia is sitting here getting ready for this game. It is a championship. It may be for the national championship if these are the two best teams in the country. You can make that argument.
I was just about to ask that exact same question. Is this the national championship?
And the rest of America.
You were going to make it a true or false. He's talking
There's going to be no juxtaposition. It's going to be true or false.
The rest of the country is moving on to 2024 because you've got A&M and Mississippi State already changed coaches. Kentucky had to reestablish Mark Stoops there. Players are going in the portal next week. This coaching job this week seems harder to me, but maybe it isn't, is what you're saying?
Oh, it's not that. I mean, because you're getting the end result that you want, it's not any harder just because of you hear where you are. And I got to give Kirby a little credit from one standpoint that a lot of people don't know, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that voted for it, but he went on a soapbox about how much you at a disadvantage you were playing for the championship in recruiting because of the recruiting window that opened up during the championship week. All the teams are practicing, and they're not getting to go on the road like these other teams. And you've seen it this year. They moved that date till Monday of this coming week. So you don't have that pressure of having to go out and see recruits and leave practice and go jump in a helicopter or go jump in a plane and then get back late and then practice. And that was a good move by from our standpoint. And I think Kirby made the point enough along with the other coaches, but give him credit for that. I mean, I don't know if people realize, I'm sure Roddy remembers it, but
actually I do remember that because we were trying to do game week coverage. We put out more content than anybody, and we're doing all this stuff, but during the season, I rely on my recruiting guys to write team content. Lance Curley, Jed May, they write team stuff. They go to press conferences. They're not on the road on Tuesdays and Wednesdays like they are in spring. When the evaluation periods, when the kids are out practicing, I'll send them out and they'll do a bunch of stuff. But they were having to track coaches, where's Todd Hartley today? Where's Fran Brown today? Where's Will Muschamp? Who's going where? Where's Del McGee today? Oh, by the way, let's go cover Tuesday's practice as well. So that's a huge get. And if Kirby Smart can use his two-time national championship status to get a rule change, then that's good.
Yeah,
good,
he's among the people that did it, but I do feel like it's definitely a lot. I mean, we've got tremendous advantage in a lot of ways, but it's a heck of a disadvantage not to be on the road when you only can be on there about 2.5 weeks. So
yeah,
it was
for winning.
But all the other coaches that aren't in these championship games, they're chapped because they're sitting around. They can't leave, they're having to wait. So I've had several of them tell me they didn't like that too much. I said, well, hey, get in a championship game.
So I'm thinking if Alabama wins or Georgia wins, like we said, we don't think Alabama gets in, but I think Alabama would be favored over anybody that's left out there.
Right.
I do. And I think if Georgia wins this one, man, if they could get a Florida State, that I don't want to say it's an automatic win, but you got to love Georgia's chances there. And I like Georgia.
With a month to prepare. Yeah.
Even against Michigan and their 47 offensive linemen that they have out there, I think, and I still think Georgia would be able to scheme something up for that. So to me, this is kind of.
You sound like Nick Saban. Last year he said, hey, we would have been favored over all of these teams, but that didn't make any difference. They didn't remember when he said
that's true. But I think they'd be favored over all these teams again if they don't get in. So
maybe Texas they wouldn't.
There you go. But I don't think you beat Nick Saban twice in the same season. That's tough. I mean, it's even tough for Kirby. He lost to him and then beat him, so it's tough. I know we got a bunch of questions, Dane. Let's hit up a couple of those real quick.
Yeah, we'll start with a simple one from UGA alum 95. Says, Coach, I know this is obvious, but what's more likely, that Alabama wins the Alabama quarterback Milroe? Does he beat Georgia with his feet or his arm?
The real issue is containing him and making him stay in the pocket. But he has the ability to throw deep among the better in the country. So even though he could hurt you running, I just think he can hurt you more throwing just because of his success, like you said, touchdown passes. So it's a tough question to answer because he's capable of anything. But I think we, for the most part, can contain him with our pass rush and everything. But it's going to be, I would say, throwing the ball.
If I'm Alabama, I'm chucking it deep all the time, just knowing that the way the refs have been calling it and the way Georgia plays the ball in the air, you're probably going to get a pass interference penalty. You're going to get a defensive holding call. And he is so accurate down the field. Something Georgia's not done a whole lot of this year. So I could just see them chucking it. And then when all those people start backing up for all those deep throws, as you said earlier, Coach, here comes that play action. They love it. So
one of their receivers that I don't think gets a lot of credit is Amari Nyblack. He's a big body out there for some of those deep balls, especially when you get to the red zone.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you hear, before I forget it, because we might get it, but did you hear what happened during the timeout at Auburn?
I did not.
The last play. And all of us know that Coach Freeze is a deeply religious guy. And so he decided to say one prayer to God, and he said, God, what do you think we should be in? And he said, well, let me check. And then he came back. He said, well, I think you should rush to, put a spy, and line up people in the end zone, and that should work. He said, okay, that's what we do. So end up takes 3 days and 14 nights for him to throw the ball, but finally he does and hits it in the end zone. And freezes all up in the air. So he comes back. He said, God, he said, I did exactly what you told me. 2 deep, 2-man rush, 3 deep in the end zone, 500 man, all that stuff. Why did you tell me something? He said, wait just a minute. God said, wait just a minute. He said, hey, Bear, why did we do that?
That's where you're going.
You guys probably have heard that, haven't you?
I've heard it a different way.
That was fresh to me.
I love it. That's one of my favorites.
Bear.
And again, wasn't it 2 years ago or maybe last year that Alabama shouldn't have been in the playoffs, shouldn't even been in this if Tank had
right. I mean, Jordan Hare just been a house of horrors for him.
So Alabama shouldn't be in the conversation 2 years in a row. If Auburn would just get its shit together, I mean, come on.
Hey, Georgia can't speak too much this year because Georgia was definitely in trouble on the Plains, not to the extent that Alabama was.
Oh, we were down 10. We were down.
I'm just saying, two plays that should have resulted in Auburn victories.
Right.
Just
Something about that place, man.
mental breakdowns. Hey, Tank, don't go out of bounds. Oh, hey, game's over. Hey, don't rush two.
And that's it's hard for me to understand how a one-dimensional team like Auburn, they cannot throw the ball, and yet they were able to run all over Georgia and run all over Alabama. Like it's crazy to me.
Yeah, but
games
I would say they ran a lot better against Alabama than they did us. I mean, he had that one run of about over 60 yards, which aided them. But Hunter, I mean, they hurt us, that's for sure. But we're not. I'm just going to tell you this. I mean, I go out to eat a lot around here, and people are asking me stuff. But this one lady, who was a nice lady, I mean, similar to age to me, came up to me and said, "Coach, how are we going to defend the edge?" I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, right there. And I mean, I like it when I said, we got to do a better job. She said, "You think we should bring the corners up?" Or I mean, and it was good. I like that.
Hey, well, Brandy here wants to know, does the defense have an answer for that gap problem? So
you talking about which one, the quarterback read running inside or the guy running outside?
Which one? Running outside, but Brandy can let us know in the comments.
Brandy, which one you want? As far as the outside, we had two freshman linebackers playing. As big a deal as Bowers playing, McClellan playing is Munden. I mean, Munden being healthy. I mean, we're playing without. I know Kirby says that Dumas Johnson is day to day and all that, but I doubt he's going to play. Hopefully, he'll play in a playoff game. But he had some things. His arm repaired. So, but Munden, I mean, you take two guys like that out of your lineup. I mean, particularly with the guys we lost to the draft and everything. So, and these young guys are playing hard and playing good, but I think that's got to be gap control. Is more about the linebackers than anything.
She wants to know about inside.
Inside is linebacker reads, fits, sustaining things at the line of scrimmage. These guys are big now. Their offensive line is probably bigger than ours, and they fit you. You saw Georgia Tech got our guys stood. We're standing them up, and they were able to do it. But the plays that hurt us were the quarterback reads, where they very similar to what Robbie Ashford did against Auburn against us. So they don't run that play much. I mean, they might put it in, they might run it, but I doubt they will.
That was my question, Coach, is what Alabama and Georgia Tech do are distinctly different. But as a coach, would you ever incorporate something that's not of your identity just because another team had success with it?
Certain plays I would, but you certainly can't start trying to read things if it's not in your DNA. By that, I mean, you can't start reading a guy and pulling the ball in 1 week, because what's going to happen there is you're going to get maybe you might have a couple good plays, but you're going to have some bad exchanges there too. So I think it's just a case of calling a predetermined keep or a predetermined give for Alabama. I don't think they'll go wholesale what Tech did. I wish they would, because they're going to have some bad plays. Let me tell you, I coached that thing a long time, and it's not real easy to read a guy. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? They try to do all this stuff, and you got to mesh with that guy, and you got to pull it, and you got to do all that. And the reason we did it 1,000 times that Switzer told us every 2 or 3 months is because 999 is not enough. I mean, I know we'll forget. And so we did it every day, 20 minutes. It's just the fullback and the quarterback mesh. I mean, in the oblivion, you had to do it, and you can't do it in a week.
Yeah, and when they know your defense knows you're being read, you head fakes and all that fun stuff. It's like, hey, I'm gonna make it much harder for you to read me. So,
right.
Funny how football has changed. Like
we changed our read to make it easier on a quarterback. We moved our fullback up, and that really helped us. So the mesh would occur earlier, and we also made our quarterback take a shorter step horizontally where he would be on the line of scrimmage instead of going way back. So we made the read a lot quicker, and a lot of people give us credit for that, and they should, because it's a smart move, because we were able to make a decisive. And if you're reading him from a long way back and riding him a long way, you can think about a lot of things to do, but you got a quick decision there. Even if it's wrong, it's better than reading him forever, I think. So we moved the fullback up, and we did a quicker step with the quarterback. Instead of going backwards, we did a 10 o'clock open up. Hey, they don't want to hear about that stuff. So,
but yeah, Alabama's not going to do a whole lot of reading. I'm with you there. I don't see them installing that real quick. I do want our folks to read what's going the menu over to Academia Brewing Company when you get a chance. They have the fresh blueberry and lemon cheesecake by Jack's Cheesecake. If you've not had any of the Jack's Cheesecake, you really need to try it. It's fantastic. This blueberry lemon, I haven't had this one. I've had a bunch of the other ones, and I'm telling you that looks phenomenal. So you get a chance, swing by there, get the cheesecake. Of course, they also have a collaboration with the Sprayer Bottle Shop. You know, it's I like this. It's called Relative Relief. They always have the best can art and the best names for their beers, and of course, all these beers are award winners. They have their premium Feist beer and all kind of great stuff over there. This coming Saturday, December 2nd, they're going to have their Athens Cars and Coffee from 11 to 2. You can enjoy a great car show, great food, and great beer at Academia Brewing Company. There's always something going on out there. I really am a big fan of the beer and biscuit brunch when you get a chance. I never can say it correctly, but if you ever want to go out there on Saturday or Sunday and have some fantastic brunch items, check out their friends at Academia Brewing Company when you get the chance. Speaking of food, today is Wednesday, so you may have missed the double points. If you go to YourPie, if you use the YourPie app on Tuesday, you get double points, but you can still do it today. Try their bacon and cheddar pizza, try their pastas, try their sandwiches, the breadsticks, the gelato, the brownies. They have a ton of great stuff out there. Order it on the app. You can either have it delivered or pick it up, and the points add up incredibly fast. Everyone's got their loyalty program, their card, their point system. I'm telling you, the one that you go to and use with YourPie, it adds up incredibly fast. And of course, the founders of this are giant Georgia fans. So I know Drew and Natalie French, they will be probably in the stadium on Saturday screaming until they're hoarse. They're giant Georgia fans. So, hey, support the team. Support the people that support your team when you get a chance.
We'll continue with questions here from the DawgVent at UGASports. This is going back a bit, but Biscuit Salad wants to know, Coach, can you tell him what went into the decision to use Dylan Bell so much against Tennessee? Was that more about Ladd McConkey being limited or something more specific for the game plan? But we've seen that latter part of the season, more Dylan Bell.
I think more of Ra getting hurt, and he's in the same kind of position that Ra, who works with where Rosalie St. Jack's works. So I think it was that, plus the halfback pass was certainly a game plan. And, as we've mentioned on this show before, he played some quarterback in high school, so he's very good. But there is no question this guy is among the more explosive players on our team. We saw it when he was running back, filling in when we were injured, but his ability to catch the ball, explosive, go up and get it, that catch he made on the sideline that Roddy said we thought should have been a catch, and then the one for a touchdown where they called a guy down the field, that certainly was a close one too, but it's just the way he can go up and get it, and really good kid. I mean, we got so many good kids around here that you can't even talk about them all. But every time I've ever talked to him, I got a good feeling about him. I mean, just yes, sir. Really got a glow in his eye, and just loves being here in Georgia. I mean, a very team-oriented guy. I mean, can't say enough good things. And I think he's going to be a huge part of our run for the national championship.
From BTV Dog, assuming this game's competitive into the fourth quarter, fatigue may become a factor for both teams. Which team do you think is deeper in terms of talent on offense and defense?
Well, he makes a good point. And the thing you got to remember that people don't really think about a lot of times, but most of the people that listen to our show know we've talked about it, is playing inside has a tendency to make kids hyperventilate a little bit. I mean, it's just I don't know what it is, but you get more IVs probably in an inside game than you do a hot game outside. I don't know what it is, but it has a tendency to make you expend more energy for sure. So as far as who's got the most depth, I'm not sure that I can really quantify that on this show, but I do know that 2 years ago that Kirby made a distinct point to his team that Alabama felt like they were in better shape against us in the championship game and that was a big part of their deal. So our guys over conditioned for the national championship because of that. So that's for sure. We got a big conditioning issue this week, making sure that doesn't happen again. So, but if you want to know about how we match up, I think we got a better offensive line. We definitely got a better tight end. Receivers, if our guys are healthy, we got more of them, but they got some good guys. Quarterback, probably going to be a push just because of Milroe's legs, but at the same time, Beck has been a big game player. So I'd give him a little edge because his ability to make plays and not maybe as many mistakes. Running back, if McClellan doesn't play, we got an edge there too. As far as defensive line, I think their D line is probably bigger, maybe not as mobile as us. We got an edge at linebacker, even with our freshman guys. I think Trez Marshall played here, but he's one of their linebackers. Corners, both corners for them are draftable guys. They might have a little edge there because I think Everett's improving for sure. It looks like we won't have. I mean, I don't know if Humphreys can play or not. Safeties, they got Downs. We got the two best safeties in the country. I think they got an issue at one of their safeties and their nickel guy. They got a guy transferred from UAB playing back there. So, I mean, it's kind of a situation. We got an edge there at safety and star. Punter, I feel like we got the best punter, and we haven't given up a return yard yet. And place kicker, their guys came back to have a big year. He's missed a few. Our guys is really good. Our kickoff guy's good. They got good punt returner and Downs taking over for the guy. Coaching, they both are good, but I'll take Kirby. So that's the way I got this game. I don't know what else I can tell you.
No, we're done there. We don't need any more questions.
Well, this one's not a question, but it is a comment from Savannah Doggett. Says, my husband wanted me to let Coach know that he enjoyed hearing him speak at the Savannah Quarterback Club a few weeks ago. My husband knows not to call me when I'm listening to Coach Donnan on UGASports Live every week.
Well, that's nice of him. I've heard her say that. And as I told you after I was there, I enjoyed being around those guys. They love football, but they also more of them like Georgia than other schools maybe. And it was a lot of fun for me, and I don't do that much anymore. And I just don't travel very good.
Oh, you met Brian Fennell and the Arby's on Hilton Head some years back. He says thank you. I was at the GM there at the time. It was Aaron Murray's incoming freshman year. So
did he buy me a Jamocha shake or what was it?
He might have.
That was nice of him. You try to be. People always come up to you. That's nice. I enjoy it.
Roddy, let's sneak in a word here from My Perfect Franchise, and then we'll wrap up with questions after that.
Yeah, we got some questions. Hey, I see Blaine Gilmer's got a question in there we can get on to.
Blaine.
Real quick, My Perfect Franchise, I've spoken to Andy Ludecky, who kind of runs that thing very recently. We had a good talk. We're talking about some of the hot franchises that are out there and, always trying to pin them down on, where people putting their money. And he had a great explanation because I said, look, some people are going to be worried about the economy. Some people think it's good. Some people think it's bad. And whatever you think is right because you're basing it off of your experiences. He said, look, there are some things that are pretty much recession proof. People are always, people aren't selling homes as much. There's a lot fewer homes on the market right now, but they're putting money into their homes. They're doing blinds, they're doing gutters, they're doing roofs, basically from the ground floor to the top. Anything within the house is home improvement stuff. If you are looking to get into a franchise, he says, there are incredibly easy, incredibly well thought out, incredibly successful things that you can do in the home improvement market. He says, look, he started giving me examples. Here's a guy that was on the DawgVent. He started out, at $1,000 billing in his first month. Now he's, billing $35,000 a month. Just crazy numbers that were out there. So the point is, if you were thinking about going into business for yourself, reach out to My Perfect Franchise. They have over 3,000 different franchises out there. They can help you find something that matches your in the amount of involvement you want, the amount of money you want to put into it, the amount of time you have. You need somebody to walk you through that. Don't just go do a Google search. Reach out to Andy Ledecky when you get a chance.
Question from Bulldog Ben. Coach, do you think that Georgia comes out throwing to open up the run or running to open up the play action and deep shots?
I was asked this morning. I need this answer. I could have used it earlier.
I just feel like our whole season has been based on the other team, what the other team presents to us. We came out throwing against Kentucky, and even on short yardage, other teams, you just kind of adjust as a game. But we're a multifaceted team, use a lot of personnel groups, use a lot of different window dressing with our motion and stuff. Not as many RPOs maybe as we have thrown, but I think it's just going to be a question of how they're going to try to play us. If they play us a lot of man coverage, they're going to be exposed with that safety and that nickel guy. I mean, kind of like in the past when Georgia's had the guys in those positions they couldn't cover. What I know they will try to do, because our guy's so good at reading coverages, is show us something and then go to something else to try to confuse him a little bit. I think they'll do that because he's such a great read guy and throws the ball on time. I think we'll see a lot of disguise by them to try to get us in certain things. But I can't really say which one it'll be, but we'll probably throw more than we did last week.
Bulldog Ben also asked, is Jalen Milroe the best quarterback that Georgia has faced this year?
Potentially he could be, but, I think the way the kid from Missouri played all year was really good because of his, the way his team won. But I'll say wait till after the game. I mean, I haven't seen enough of Milroe that, early Milroe wasn't. Last few weeks maybe he is, but against Auburn he wasn't.
Golf bag, Coach Donnan. I think it's great that you made Athens your home for so many years, and you, of course, have received the title of Damn Good Dog. After Georgia beats Saban Saturday night, do you think Saban sticks around another year to seek revenge on Kirby and Tuscaloosa?
I think he's a lifer. I mean, the guys like Joe Paterno, I mean, he just loves football. He's totally ingrained in it. Even though he keeps buying these Mercedes places. He bought 2 Mercedes dealerships in Palm Beach for $700 million. I'm sure he's got to go on and finance those some way, but he's a lifer. I don't see him getting away from it.
This one from OU Herschel Walker.
Who asked that golfer dog?
Golf bag, I think is what it was. Yeah. Reminds
me of the guy that was teaching his kids how to add, and one guy said 38 and 36, and the parents said the kid answered 74. He said that's right. 38 and 36, the kid answered 2 over par. He said that's right.
OU Herschel Walker, getting in the details here, says coach is moving Dylan Bell from the left to the right side on kickoff formation, an indication that Georgia's trying to give him more opportunities. He looked good there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with where the guy kicks it. We made the poor decision one by Muse. The ball was going out of bounds, but that's hard to make a decision in the air. I think Kirby, Benedict, all our special teams coaches look at different things and the way the guy kicks the ball. And we felt like, and we told our people on the watch along show that Georgia had a good chance to return a kick last week, and we did it. That was big in the game, the way we did it. But both these guys are very explosive on kick return. So I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason where each guy lines up, but that's pretty succinct by him picking that out. I mean, good job by on the question.
Kim just wanted to tell you that from a past game that the 96 4-overtime win against Auburn is one of the favorites of her life.
Mine too. I mean, that was good. We were out in Oklahoma last week and reliving some things, and my son just happened to cut on the YouTube channel, and they showed the a game where Marshall was playing back when I was a coach and he was a quarterback, and his son was there too, and we got to watch a little bit of that. It was kind of nice to 3 generations watching each other. But also, he talked about it. He saw the overtime game on I think the SEC channel, and the one thing that he will never forget, will never let me down, is right when the overtime was getting ready to start. He at that time he was in graduate school here in a business school, so he wasn't a coach. He was just on the sideline. But he came up to me. He said, "Dad, I usually don't tell you anything, but I'm just going to tell you right now. You need to feed Robert Edwards." He was right, boy. That overtime, we ran him, and we had Curtsy run a couple, but we ran the heck out of the counter, and really good job by Robert.
I just can't imagine being out there on the edge. Here comes the counter, your GY counter, and Robert's behind that mass of flesh. I'm like, man, I quit. I'm done. I'm gonna strike a block and try to catch one of the fastest guys out there. That's not
Should have
going to
been
happen.
one of the best backs ever to play in the NFL without that. I mean, no question. Speed, toughness, athleticism, catch the ball. He was a premier back.
What were you telling NFL coaches in that draft process about him?
I told Big Bill from Mobile, that was Bill Parcells, who was not involved anymore about that because he was out of the Jets. I said, if you can get him, get him. And of course, Belichick came down here and looked at him too. And I mean, you don't have to talk too much when they see the tape. I mean, just a fantastic player. His brother was good too, Terrence. Good,
very good.
I was thinking about Thanksgiving too, about the time when you really think about it. Over there at the high school there, when they were having a banquet, I was a speaker, and we were recruiting him. And the guy that was recruiting Terrence for Auburn was Jimbo. Jimbo was the, I think, running back coach or quarterback coach, and he was recruiting him. And then Dabo Swinney was a receiver coach for for Clemson. So it was all three of us over there and trying to get Edwards. And his mother was big for Georgia, and so was his dad.
Good for Georgia.
It's funny all the guys you run into who are big superstar coaches now.
Jesse Miller, what a player. If Jesse could have done his academics a little better. I mean, we had those good linebackers, but, we had Kendrell Bell and Witherspoon and Gilbert and Boss Bailey, but Jesse Miller, good Lord, what a player.
Do you think you can get Jimbo on a podcast with us so we can talk about money management?
We don't have enough time to let Jimbo talk.
Hey, apparently he's at Lake Oconee wearing a bunch of Georgia gear. So somebody saw him the other day, trying to fit in with the locals down there. I love it. We got a question.
That's me.
Quick question from Blaine Gilmer, Coach. He's done a lot of coaching himself, but he wants to ask you this. Says, Coach, can you explain to us UGA's defense playing tight 4s and 5 techniques, spilling everything outside and then rallying with a star, safeties, and inside linebackers? Containing has been an issue. Do you see adjustments coming?
Yeah, I mean, when he says 4, that means you're head up, and if you're in that position, the linebacker's got to spill because you can't contain. And if you're in 5, the linebacker's inside out. But sometimes, as we mentioned, if Blaine was listening, sometimes our linebackers are not as good at going where they're supposed to do and taking a bad step. And, we saw that against Tennessee, where our star or our nickel guy overplayed it and wasn't in the gap, and the guy made it. But it's a fast-paced game, and you got reads and everything. And I think against a team like Alabama, we got to do maybe a little more movement with our front because these guys can get on you. So I could see some penetrating type of defensive fronts by us to try to get on their side of the ball and disrupt their mesh points because these little big old guys can get on you and kind of like our guys do, a big leverage and but by the time you got to the ball carry, he's got 3 or 4 yards. So I could see more what we called blood stunt where you come inside fast. You saw it against LSU last year when Carter did it on short yardage and made that play. I think we can see some blood stunts where we stun inside and go out. Good question by Blaine.
Makes a lot of sense, and that's a good explanation there. Isn't the left tackle for Alabama a freshman, Caden Proctor?
Proctor, yeah.
But he's gotten progressively better throughout the year.
The thing about it, he's a highly recruited guy. He's played all year long. He's had, 12 games plus all that. So he's a good player.
He is, but I'm just thinking, you've got Ernest Green, left tackle, freshman. It's just amazing that the top two teams in the SEC and two of the best teams in the nation have the most important position in the offensive line besides center. I know how big you are on center and quarterback exchange. Got two freshmen out there battling, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Here's the thing about Ernest Green, his athleticism. I mean, I know Dayne and Brent do a good job on Film Don't Lie, showing the different things. But this guy's ability to run on the perimeter and fit on people and knock them back. It's hard for a big guy, 320 plus, to go out there against a little guy who's, first of all, is going to try to dodge you. He's not going to take you on. But he's got the foot placement and the movement on top of his, and he misses some blocks like everybody does. But for the most part, guy's really outstanding talent. And, I always loved when I could have a tackle that could pull on the perimeter, whether it be on screens or on the option. We used to have 28 and 29 was a freeze option. But if we could pull our tackle instead of blocking him down and still read the guy, I mean, it's like stealing, because if they took one step up the field, we handed the fullback, he ran for days. And if they closed, then we had our tackle and our halfback in the secondary. And just some of the biggest plays we ever made was Green 28 and 29. Those tackles love to pull. I mean, Coach had a whole lot try to block that corner, and I would that big old Chilardo 5 technique.
I mean, that particular thing, I think he has potential to be as good as George has had at that since Andrew Thomas.
Exactly. And, I think people remember when the season started, we talked about Stacy Searles, McGee, all those guys said he is a better run blocker, right? And I thought Jones was good, but he's a better run blocker right now than Jones. And he's got to get better to be a pass. But, Jones playing up there for the Steelers.
I love it. That leads into this question from Darnell Howell. He just says he's a Bama fan. Look at his profile picture. He is absolutely
infiltrating us.
Yeah, he says it's a very knowledgeable discussion. He says, I want your input on how Georgia may try to contain our outside linebackers or contact our outside linebackers, 15 and 41, arguably two of the best in the country.
Do you really think I'm going to tell you that shit if you're an Alabama fan? Hey, I appreciate it. Those two guys, Landon is really good. I mean, really good player. He plays hard. And 41 too. I think you got to do some things to mix up your protections and not just one-on-one, have some chips with your tight end and backs. And you got to kind of show them some different looks where you kind of take a step out and then come in to try to, influence them. But these guys are premier players, can play for anybody in the country, going to be really good next level. And it's a real concern in the game. It's controlling 15 for sure. 41 does his plays too, but he's definitely right. But are you any kin to Nick?
Don't know how. Yeah, it might be. That could be a fake name. Got to watch out for these guys.
Hey, but it's nice of him to ask the question, and I didn't mean to be.
We had a lot of Alabama fans in here watching it. I guess last thing, Coach, your thoughts on Fran Brown getting the Syracuse head coaching job. We haven't really discussed that.
Congratulations to Fran. I mean, that's a significant job to be able to go up in the Northeast and have a chance to be a coach of the ACC team. He's done a really good job here, good on the field coach and really good recruiter. And John Wildhack, who's the AD, is used to be at ESPN when he was my immediate superior when I was there, as far as the guy would be responsible for telling me what to do and everything. And he called me about Fran early on. Sean McDonough did too. And Fran got some good input from Kirby and everybody. But the thing about it is, it's just another signature part of our program, the fifth guy to be named the head coach in 8 years of the guy being the coach here. And everybody likes the Georgia blueprint. They know that we know how to train players, recruit them, everything about it. So he's got a good background in the East, and he certainly has helped us. But I will tell you this. I'm not near as worried about losing an assistant coach as I am the head coach, because deep down, he's the one that recruits them. Who's your boss? That's what you're looking at. Mamas, daddies, high school coaches. Who's the head coach? Because assistant coaches are going to come and go. Dan Lanning's going to come and go. Mel Tucker, eventually Schumann. Sam Pittman. But the head coach is the man. So people wring their necks. What are we going to do? How are we going to replace these guys? Let me tell you something. Life goes on, and as much as I'm happy for Fran, I'm not too worried about what's going to happen, because as long as Kirby's there, and you got the extra with Muschamp
and Bobo.
You saw this a couple years ago. A guy left, and I don't know if it was because he was told to leave or what, but he went to a downtrodden Miami program that was starting over, and he was the recruiter of the year based on the defensive backs and all that he supposedly signed. But hey, Kirby and Muschamp had much to do with those guys, and even Del McGee. So it's not just the assistant coaches. We got Coach Cooper here, does a tremendous job. I'm talking about
they love Coach Coop,
on campus recruiter, and he relates to those kids and he calls them up and everything. Doesn't get near enough credit for what he does, and then all our ops people, Montgomery, all these guys. So Kirby's moving in a new house. I think he's going to be here for a little while.
I mean, when you have the success Georgia has, these assistants are going to get opportunities, and Schumann will be one of those in the future. I think Todd Hartley could be one of those in the future.
Yeah.
Del McGee could get an opportunity in the future. Yeah. And I think one of the smartest things that Kirby Smart has done is getting Will Muschamp and Mike Bobo, who have already done that trek, and maybe they're at a place in their life they're happy being here for a little while. I think that sustains that staff continuity that Georgia likes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And Gray Scott and Uribe, all these guys are fantastic coaches. Coach Mack, I mean, they do a good job, and they're experts in their field. And that's one of the things that I think that has had to happen for Nick this year is Tommy Reed's improvement as the coordinator there, and it goes hand in hand with the development of his quarterback Milroe. But anytime you come in and you haven't been in a system like the same that Nick runs, and the one thing that they do, regardless of who the coordinator is, Todd Monken came in here and Kirby said, "Hey, you got carte blanche. You can call it the way you want to. Every formation, everything, we're going to change it, whatever you want to call it." But Nick, when you go there, Bill O'Brien, Lane Kiffin, whoever it is, they got to call the same way that Nick calls it. It's because Nick wants to know he's not going to learn a new system. I mean, he just tells you that's the way it is. So Tommy is evolved in that, and people say, "Well, hey, a play's a play." Let me tell you something. If you say split right over 42 bob, and then you say trips right 32 angle, those are the same plays, but the different way to handle it. You know what I mean? So you got to learn that in your brain, and it's tough. It's hard to do.
Yeah, and the thing with Kirby having 5 former assistants who were head coaches in 8 years, when the Fran Brown was announced, I can't imagine how many people started calling Kirby's phone, texting him, saying, "Hey, let me get in on that staff. Oh, I've never coached the secondary before, but I can learn because being on that staff and learning how Kirby does." I mean, that's why Mike Bobo said he came in. He said, "I wanted to learn. I've coached all over, but I wanted to be into this tree." So I thought it was I'm not worried about Kirby losing the assistant coaches.
Good point. And they got them stacked up like club sandwiches. People want to come in here and coach. And let me tell you
what. Even analysts, the analysts he has over there.
Let me tell you this, though. You can talk about being a recruiter all you want, but if you can't get on the board in X and O with Kirby Smart, say goodnight, Gracie. I don't give a shit how good. I don't care how good a recruiter you are. You got no chance, because you better be able to talk ball. Special teams, you better be able to talk ball, because he's going to put you through the ringer. I mean, and there's some guys that come in here and thought, hey, they got a great expertise and all that, and they came in here and interviewed in Georgia. They went with their heads between their tail when it was over with, because it's not. And Nick does the same thing. I mean,
it's humbling.
They put the whole staff there, and you're up there in front of everybody. I'm not talking about just the defense. You're up front of the whole staff, and these guys are checking you out because they want to see how you handle the pressure. Because if you can't handle the pressure of an interview on the grease board up there and showing stuff, you know you're not going to be able to handle the day-to-day with Kirby bearing down on you. I mean, all he does is want you to do your best. But and one thing he'll do, he'll bring the film in of what you your team played, and he'll say, okay, explain to me why he played this coverage. What are you teaching this guy on the boundary? What's this guy doing? Where's his alignment on the hash? Why is he not lined up here on this coverage instead of here, and all that? You better have some good film to bring with you too, because you got no chance.
Oh my God, I'm nervous just hearing about it. I need
I would say, like that Ivory commercial, 99 and 44%. He's got the next guy.
Yeah, would not shock me. All right, folks. We will be back next week talking about the Georgia-Alabama game and looking ahead to how the rankings are going to play out that evening. We'll be back next Tuesday at noon.
They'll be ranked on Sunday, Coach.
Oh, I forgot it's on Sunday. I thought it was thinking.
Come on, answer the phone. If you're going to be on this show, you got to be the man. So.
You got me all worked out on my damn whiteboard thing. I'm thinking about
no, I just had
cover two-man trail technique.
I will say this for our readers and listeners and all. Fran Brown got the job, and the first person to tell everybody was Radi Nabulsi, like he always does. So congratulations to you, Radi, on breaking that.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. See, I can do my job sometimes, just not when not when you got me on the damn whiteboard. I nut up. All right, folks, tune in next week. We'll be talking a lot of Georgia football. We'll be previewing where the dog is going to go, and we'll be answering your questions. So